What's up, guys? Today we're going to be adding a little fan right here to this 400EX, help it keep cool. Let's get into it. Alright, so here is the old fan I had on it, and here's the new one. The output on these things are about the same. That thing almost actually weighs as much as this whole assembly does, because this is a smaller, cheaper fan. It's a radiator fan, and I had it mounted on the front of the quad, which you guys should have noticed in some of my previous videos. I actually have a video putting this fan on, and I'll link that above, probably in this corner over here. But this fan is going to be tucked away more, and it's going to be a lot cleaner of a look, because you won't see this giant thing. So I'm going to use all the existing stuff that I had for this and mount that up straight up to the oil cooler. I'll show you guys how I do that. Okay, so I already have all my plastics off, everything I need to access where I'm going to mount this fan. If you look right here, this thing looks like it's going to fit perfectly right in here. Now there's a few things online that I've seen in a couple forums on how to do this, but the pictures don't show up, so it'll be kind of cool just to show you guys a video of how I do it. But that's where I got the idea from. This thing's going to mount directly to this cooler and going to draw air through it. So this is a puller fan. If you get one of these things, make sure it's a puller fan. I'll actually have links down in the description below where I got all this stuff and anything that you need. In order to do this, you're going to need a positive and negative wire coming from the battery, or in my case, just one positive wire. Then you can have a negative connected to the frame of the four-wheeler. So from here, what you're going to want to do is take a positive wire, and if you can, get one with a fuse, inline fuse. That way it won't blow. Run the wire all the way up here. Here's the original ends for that other fan that I had. I'm going to show you guys what I'm going to be doing, but this right here, I'm going to clip this. I'm going to mount this directly to the fan. This is the negative. If you look here, the negative, trace the wire, is connected directly to my frame over here. This is the actual ignition coil for the four-wheeler. Now this is not done very well. I just wrapped the wire around it. I actually need to get a fitting for this, a connector for this, which I actually have a couple. So I'm going to go ahead and do that while I'm adjusting all these things. Okay, bring you guys to my makeshift workbench here. So we have our negative wire that I'm going to connect directly to the ignition coil thing there. What I'm going to do is take one of these, slip it onto here. I got a soldering iron. I'm going to go ahead and actually solder this connector to the wire. I'm going to clip this side off like this. Add this female connector to this wire, solder it, and do the same thing. Alright, so that one is done. Soldered to the connector. Now it's time to do the other side. I would always actually recommend to pull this little plastic sleeve off and solder it and then slide the sleeve over. That one is now soldered on. You can slide the sleeve over like that. Kind of protects that. Okay, so now I'm going to take this other female connector and attach it to the positive wire here. Now that that's done, we can connect it to the four-wheeler. Okay, so I'm going to take this bolt off. This, like I said, goes to the ignition coil. Going to connect our new rig we just made. Negative wire is now attached. Going to run it through here. Get this fan out of there. Run it through like that. We can wire it together here in a minute. Now this wire here and this wire here are going to go, the wire we just connected here, the two female ends are going to connect directly to the fan. But first we got to figure out how we're going to mount this fan. Like I said, I think I'm going to use zip ties. Okay, so I know I want the fan mounted right here, like this, because I want this wire up top. So what I'm thinking about doing is just taking some zip ties and running them through, making pretty long ones and making a loop, almost, you would say, that way and through this way. So let's see if I can take a couple and run them through. That way it's not a permanent structure. And if I ever needed to get it off, I can. 2 looks like it will work. So do this. And maybe. And when you're zip tying stuff too, you want to make sure you're not accidentally zip tying stuff in that needs to not be zip tied in. So I'm going to put it over here more, so it's out of the way of that clutch cable. So there's one kind of rigged. Now I'm going to try to do the other one. Okay, so if you see right there, like I was saying, you don't want to you want to make sure it's not hooking on anything. So I want it directly mounted to this oil cooler. Now this is just to see if this will work. I don't know if this is going to work or not. This may or may not work. But so far, it kind of seems like it will. I think that's going to work for us. That way it's not permanently on here, and I can just keep these zip ties with me if it ever falls off. I mean, if it does fall off, I'll know. I should be able to just carry it with me if anything happens to it. But these zip ties seem like they're going to hold pretty well. It's not in the way of anything moving. Clutch cable. Out of the way of the clutch cable. I can even chop these ends down here like that. Like I said, if I need to, this isn't a permanent fixture, so I can just take it off. So now that that's connected, we should be able to mount up our wires, connect our wires. Not really, but here's our harness. So we have the negative coming out straight from the ignition coil. We're going to make sure the negative coming off of the wiring harness is there. Then we're going to slip it right on. Maybe. I know it fits in there. Maybe that's all the way in? I'm not sure. So now that the negative is on there, we're going to connect the positive female harness here. Okay, now that both of those are in there, technically all I have to do is connect the positive to the positive from the battery. Turns right on like it should. So what we're going to do now is this positive and this positive is going to go to the switch that's sitting inside my top plastic. And when I turn the switch on, it'll kick on. When I turn it off, it'll turn off. But this wiring harness should just sit up here with no issues. It's not going to be in the way of anything. Okay, so originally here's one of the issues I said was going to happen. This plastic gas tank shield is actually hitting, I'm not sure if we'll be able to see, it's hitting right up there. So what I'm going to do is just cut a chunk of this right out. Probably this little section here. I'm going to cut it out. That way it just sits on there, probably just like right here to there. And the fan will just kind of nestle in between there. Because what's happening is it's putting a lot of pressure and I can't access this bolt hole here. So let's try to do that. Okay, so unfortunately I don't have a Sawzall and that razor blade won't cut this plastic very well. So the only thing I have is an angle grinder. I'm going to try this and attempt to cut it out. Well, that kind of looked like it worked. It's not super pretty, but it's a hole. I'll probably have to cut more of this out right there, but we're gonna fit it on and see if I need to. Okay, so I gotta cut about from here to there out. Not sure how that's gonna work with this. I can't really get in there. See if that works. I may have to, like that. We'll see. Okay, so that worked. As you can see, it was hitting this stuff right up here. This corner was. But that seems to work. Everything fits. The screw holes match up. So we're going to start putting the plastics back on. We'll call that good. Show you finished product. Here it is, all back together. And here's the switch. This thing blows quite a bit of air. Kicks on right away. Pretty good job, I think. Now, like I said before, those zip ties are not a permanent hold. They're more than likely going to break. So if you want something more permanent, you're going to have to fix like some screws and nuts and metal. Something that'll hold it there. But for me, that's going to work for now. So that's going to be the end of this video, guys. If you like this kind of stuff, please subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. Like I said before, everything that I use will be in the description. Other than that, just hit that like button. Peace.